start my talk with a couple of questions. What comes first? Not a tough question, very easy. What comes first, chicken or the egg? This has been a tricky question throughout the ages, and people has been thinking about it. Well, scientifically speaking, science, evolution has got the answer. If you think about it, there were birds that were not quite chicken, had laid eggs, and throughout the time, through evolution, that one egg hatched into a bird that we would identify as chicken. Now comes my second question. What comes first? Question or the answer? Well, this is another intriguing question. We think that some of you might argue that how can an answer come without a question? And some of you will say, politically correct, that this is a loop, where of course questions will call for answers and answers will inspire more questions. I agree. So how do questions come? Out of curiosity to solve a problem? But however, answers or truth not always comes following a question. It can exist independently. So that needs to be discovered. Say, for example, in my profession, in digital forensic or digital investigation, we support all types of litigations and investigations. We basically collect a lot of data to support all types of cases like data breach or white-collar crime, any kind of theft. And we collect those data, we look into those using some intelligent technologies as well. We analyze them, and we find the evidence that can be produced to the court or that can help us to support the investigation. It can come from emails, it can come from your clouds, laptop, mobiles, WhatsApp, any kind of business platforms, from anywhere. So what we look in, I can ask several questions like, who is involved in this case? Does the manager knows? Is there a bribe going on? But these are the questions that my curious mind can only think of. What about the questions that I cannot think of? How do I find those? So we are overlooking something, maybe. So asking that question is important. For that, to look at the bigger picture, we need to take a step back and see outside the box. Because sometimes we tend to accept what is very obvious. We tend to take what has been set as norm. Say, for example, maybe you know about the case of Amanda Knox. So she was an American student studying in Italy, and while she was accused of a murder case for murdering her roommate, and in the case she was taken to the jail, and the media analyzed her behavior and showed like she is the one who is guilty, and everyone accepted that. It has been years of investigation following some more evidence that came out at a later point with some more of DNA samples and more of evidences. It came out that she was probably not guilty, and she was declared not guilty in 2015. So that is an ideal case where we have said something in our mind and we haven't looked at the bigger picture. So coming back to my profession in e-discovery, asking the right question is very important. And I would like to tell you about some of the techniques I use personally, but to start about it, first will be challenging the assumptions. So we need to ask questions that are not obvious, that are against our norms. So in this picture, if you can see, there are a group of students. Some are in their school uniform, and some are not in school uniform, but maybe are in casuals. Some might argue that school uniform creates more of a standard of school etiquettes, and it creates more of a homogeneous culture in the school. But some might argue that, what about self-identity? What about the student's own culture, what that person wants to reflect? Second would be respect others' perspectives. Talk to people from different views, different backgrounds, and we can learn about more of different perspectives, and we can reflect on what we are thinking, even if we are correct or not. Get involved in group discussions, in brainstormings. That generates a lot of ideas, but without judgment. And the last, take a break, think critically whatever information you have gathered, and look into it, because that will help you to understand that what you are getting into your deep research, deep thought, you can take a wider thought in that way. You can boost innovation in that way. So these are the basic steps to get started with. But we are blessed with some technologies that can also help in further analyzing the data, the universe we have got. The first would be data visualization. So in my profession, when I'm looking at a big data, like it can come from anywhere, across the big set of range. So I need some basic things to understand. So what are the geographical regions from where it's coming, or a set of things that I might overlook. So these are the interactive graphs that can give us those insights that what this is all about, what is present in my set, what I should look for further. So this is giving me an overview of what is present. Next would be data clustering. Clustering is a concept of understanding the underlying patterns and grouping them together. So if you have something of similar kind, you might like to group them together to keep them, to have a clear understanding in your mind. Next will be connectivity network graphs. So this is a lot of connections, zigzag, and this is connecting all the data points. So in this graph, you can imagine the data points to be humans, to be people. Then I can easily see who is talking to whom. And again, I can see what are the concepts present in this data. Maybe the pink ones are some concept, blue ones are different. And so how are they getting linked? The next one would be a heat map. This is something that we can generate very easily. This gives us an idea of the density of the concepts, of the data, of the communications, where, as you can see, maybe in the third column, it is going consistent, but suddenly there was a green color. So that means there was a spike in the number of records. That gives me a clear idea that something might have gone wrong there. So I would maybe zoom into that part and look into it, what's going on. And the last would be predictive analytics. So this is about the more of statistical analysis of the data, and the computer we can give a sample set to the computer to learn from it, to get the examples from it. And based on that, the AI and machine learning technologies that will help us to understand that what can be relevant for our case. So if I tell the computer, see, these 10 samples are your examples, that these are relevant to be produced to the code, and these are not. So based on that learning, the computer will look through terabytes of data and tell me that these are the next sample, Trish, that you would like to provide to the court as your next evidence. That makes our life very simpler, doesn't it? So all these tells us that how we can look into the bigger picture to get our questions solved. And that takes me back to my original question, that there might be technologies, but it is us humans who have this heart, have this brain, and have this curious mind. We can question, we can ask the computer to look into things. We can strategically tell the computer, this is how we would like to think. That's why it's very important to get back to see the wider picture and keep on asking questions. Thank you.